need to know that they're headed into divorce? And if so, how does that affect what you do?
Yes, I absolutely. If you're headed into divorce, or definitely if you're in divorce, all of that's critical information. So if I get that information immediately, I will want to have them confirm that they have spoken separately with their own attorneys on this, because usually the home is the largest asset in
True.
the marriage. And even if it's not, it's an asset. And you
Yes.
don't want to be transferring it willy-nilly when
Mhm.
you've got all your entire estate is basically being examined, and kind of how I look at it is, I'd say, frozen.
Welcome to the Alsandor Law Podcast, your go-to resource for demystifying family law with experience and empathy by your side. Hosted by attorney Cheryl Alsandor, founder and lead attorney at the Alsandor Law Firm and a board-certified family law specialist. Together with attorney Cheryl, delve into the intricate world of divorce, child custody, and more, sharing valuable insights, expert interviews, and real-life stories to support you on your family's legal journey. No matter what challenges come your way, our team is here to guide you every step of the way. Join us and let us help you find clarity amidst the legal maze, paving the way for a brighter future.
Hello, and welcome to the Alsandor Law Firm Family Law Podcast. I'm Cheryl Alsandor with our special guest, aalJackson.
Hello.
aalJackson from Houston, Texas. Angela, can you tell a little bit about what you do? I understand you hold a couple of licenses here in Houston, Texas.
Yes, yes. Well, most importantly, I am a realtor in the local Houston area, Houston and surrounding area. Love what I do. Yes, I am full time. Backstory is, I also hold a license to practice law. I am an attorney. I am no longer doing that. There are things that I do for myself and for my family, because, of course, I worked very hard for that license. So I make sure I keep it
So
active.
you ran from the practice of law. Is that what it is?
Go figure. Yes. Yes. Yeah, transition to something else. I was just, I think I got burned out.
Yeah.
My little boys, they grew up into men. I hardly saw them in the area that I was practicing in. And it was funny because my husband, he had said they had a reduction of force at the law firm. And he's like, well, you don't really enjoy this. Why don't you look into something else? Well, I took that and ran with it.
You ran with this. You weren't like me enjoying that family law.
Yes.
You got to have a calling on you.
Gotta have a calling, and
Yeah.
I can tell you, I really enjoyed the business model of real estate. I always
Mhm.
loved helping people. That was the part that brought me to
Yes.
law.
Agreed.
Now I'm doing what I love. I would dream about real estate even as a younger person in my 20s. So I'm doing this full time, whether it's, helping others invest, or getting their first home, or selling their home, or getting a second home, all of that. It's very yummy to me.
Very yummy. I love it. I love it. Well, I want to talk to you today. Let's explore that intersection of real estate and family law. And you've got some family law experience and that legal experience that you have. Sometimes there is that intersection. Now, tell us a little bit though about your specialty in real estate, because I think I heard that you like to focus, you have some special understanding for those people who are going through divorces. Tell a little
Mhm.
bit about that.
Yes. So I thankfully, because of my background, when there are some unusual issues, yes, like divorce, like maybe a loved one has passed away, we've got some probate issues, it doesn't scare me because I know exactly what's going on. So
Yeah.
I'm able to kind of be their real estate guide and kind of set realistic expectations of what's supposed to happen for the sale of the property, and kind of help. You work in tandem. If they've got counsel, you work in conjunction with them, because it's not something the average person thinks that those are separate events. I'm getting divorced, but I'm also selling property.
That's right. That's right, because I get clients all the time. They when they hire me, they will have already they might say, "Oh, we just sold our property and then we filed for divorce." And as a divorce lawyer, I'm like, "Okay, wait a minute. I wish
Mhm,
you would have waited. Maybe we could use those proceeds to offset something." Or
mhm,
they hire me and they say the house is listed for sale.
mhm. Yeah, those that can get pretty sticky. So,
Yeah.
and you,
Talk
of
about
course, they
that.
want to proceed the best way that they can. So I'm thankful that I have some of that background, so I know, if I've got a client that says, "Hey, no, we are divorcing," I already have something going on in the back of my head of, okay, this is how we need to approach it, and
Mhm.
first step, have you spoken to your attorney about this? Because as you said, they may not even be thinking like, "Oh yeah, it's not a big deal. We're just getting rid of the property. That's all."
Right. That's right, and then, yeah, me on the other side, I'm like, "Oh, okay." So,
Right.
what are some things that you'd want a person to consider if they are about to file for divorce, but they're thinking about selling their property? What are some of the flags or the thoughts that come across your mind?
Well, so if you think it's on the horizon, there's two things. One, because I understand if there's a divorce, there might be a disconnect between the two people. However,
Mhm.
when you're
Yes.
selling the house, you're still two people selling the house. So you don't have to exactly get along, but you're doing this thing in conjunction. So, for example, they may have of course, their separate counsel, but when I come in as a realtor, I'm not advocating for either or of them. I represent both of them. So it's
Yes.
important that, these flags of them thinking that possibly I would let them know, well, anything you tell me, the other person, they would know because I represent you together. And
Mhm.
together, I am advocating for you to get the best deal for your property.
Right.
That's how we work together as a team.
To make the most that they can make and move on.
Move on. So
Okay.
that is, I guess it wouldn't be a red flag, but something that I would want to drive down into the ground. Probably have it like a repetitive thing, especially if it's a situation where it might be a highly contested divorce.
Yes.
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 And then the other situation is not to say that someone would try to do this, but
Mhm.
if someone thought, well, I can just sell the property because my name is on the property and
Yes.
divorce, shamores, whatever, we're going to get that is not going to fly. Even if you try to not disclose that to your realtor, which you should not do, company will definitely catch it.
Okay.
Very upset at closing, and you'll have some very upset buyers, and you probably might even end up breaching your contract, which is a whole nother mess.
Oh,
Anyway.
no. So the moral of the story is if you have a spouse, include them in the sale of the property and let the
Please
realtor know, right? Okay.
help
Yes,
each
things
other.
happen.
We're all on the same team.
Yes, one team. One team accepted until, well, what about when the divorce is pending?
Mm,
So I get clients all the time, like I was saying, who come to me and in the strategy session with me, they're telling me, well, we've got the house listed for sale. And
mhm.
so what do you need to know that they're headed into divorce? And if so, how does that affect what you do?
Yes, I absolutely. If you're headed into divorce, or definitely if you're in divorce, all of that's critical information. So if I get that information immediately, I will want to have them confirm that they have spoken separately, with their own attorneys on this, because usually the home is the largest asset in the
True.
marriage. And even if it's not, it's an asset, and you
Yes.
don't want to be transferring it willy nilly when
Mhm.
you've got all your entire estate is basically being examined, and kind of how I look at it is, I'd say frozen. I say your estate is frozen right now, and it needs
Right.
to stay that way until y'all come to an agreement of how it's
Exactly.
split. And I can't, my hands are tied. Now, outside, if I see an agreement that your counsel, everybody has agreed on, saying,
Mhm.
yeah, this needs to be sold and all of that, then we could move forward with that. But outside of that, we have to wait.
Right, right. I definitely understand that because that those sales proceeds might be used to offset some other asset that needs to be divided, like retirement. I
Mhm.
oftentimes find myself sort of, using those two against each other. This spouse will get more of the retirement, but this other spouse will get more of the sales proceeds and will take
Mhm.
into account taxes and all those other things that come with it. Very true. So,
Absolutely.
what about once they have lawyers? Sometimes we go to mediation, just like you said, or we don't go to mediation. We've somehow reached an agreement that this house is going to be sold. We might even throw in some extra terms about, okay, what the sales proceeds will be used to pay this debt and then split
Mhm.
50-50. I mean,
Right.
what do you need to know as a realtor, and what kind of advice do you want to give to those sellers in that situation?
Yes. This will probably be the same advice that you give. The more specific the instructions,
Mm,
the better. So
okay.
if there's something that's supposed to be paid off, then line by line. Now the title company, outside of it being something connected with the closing, because I could see a scenario like that out of husband's proceeds, maybe there was some solar panels or something, and say, okay, then he's going to pay off the solar panels, and that's
Okay.
his portion. You would want to have the black and white of it laid out, so the title company has its specific instructions. And then for the other things that maybe is outside of the closing, that I would not know, as long as I would not need to know, as long as we know the split that each spouse is getting.
To get.
Uh,
Okay.
they're all everything is again agreed upon. We need to make
Mhm.
sure it's not just
That's
one particular
key.
spouse asserting their proposal.
And
Yeah.
have you ever been, I guess much of this is privilege, but I mean, are there situations where you can think of where it's not agreed? And what does that do to you as the realtor if you've got your clients in your ear saying different things? Because I know on my end, we hear that my client is saying this to the realtor, the other spouse is saying something else,
Mm-hmm.
and then we lawyers start communicating with the realtor. I mean, what do you want from us as a realtor? And what do you do in those situations?
And in those situations, it's more like that's when my personality comes out, where I'm able to diffuse.
Yes.
So, one, try to stop all the side conversations.
Mhm.
And I get it. A lot of people may be busy. So, I might not be able to get an audience with both of them. But
Mhm.
what I would end up doing is basically giving the plan of action. And it would be me getting it in writing, sending it to both parties or both sellers so that they can see, and then I can confirm if they're in agreement. Once I can get that in writing or a response, I can still
Mhm.
follow up with a telephone call, to make sure that they're receiving at their level whatever it is of what's happening. Because, with marriages, usually it's the opposites. So you might
Mhm.
have the analytic and then
Mm.
and
That's right.
need to convey that information in a way that they both can understand. And then, but if I send that email out and I get some feedback that, it's going left, I know that we have to pump the brakes and I've got
Okay.
to revisit. If we're mid contract, because, in real estate, that contract it's got a timeline in it. And if
Okay.
there's deadlines that you blow through, you can be in breach. So, of
Mhm.
course, I'm always thinking, I've got to protect the seller. Okay, we're having an issue. Let's make sure we resolve it. Here's your liability if we don't resolve this.
Okay, and that kind of puts some heat under things.
Like, this is not you put your hands and say, I don't want to do it anymore. You're going to end up taking a hit. If we've got a buyer on the hook and you've
Mhm.
got to perform, then we've got to perform. So let's go ahead and follow through on this contract because you have something to lose if not.
That's right.
A lot of
That's
people
right.
realize that contract, unfortunately, well, it's not unfortunate. It's drafted more so to me to protect the buyer than the seller.
Okay.
So the
Okay.
sellers need to really walk a fine line when they're under contract.
Okay, that's good to know. So myself as a practitioner, I just need to make sure my client is aware of that. Like, hey, you got these other timelines that can really harm you if you don't
Yes.
follow them. So,
Yes. So yeah, you want to
okay.
listen to your agent. And that's why it's so important in the information gathering stage before we
Mhm.
even, get under contract, when we're talking about putting the house up for sale, to kind of clear through any of those landmines that may come up so that we
Mhm.
don't have that issue.
Right, right. Is there ever a conflict with the sales price? And I was wondering, this is something sometimes we put it in the decree, the divorce decree, that they'll agree. And then there are some cases I know they're never going to agree. They don't agree on anything. And so, what's a good way to figure out how to, what price to list it at?
hmm To list a home, you're always going to, now this is germane to my job description, is to
Mhm.
see where the market is, and not actually just where it is, but where it's going. So a good realtor is going to look at just about the average amount of time it takes for a home to sell in that area, a home
Okay.
similar to that. Within that time frame, you're going to look at what the homes are selling for now, and look
Mhm.
at the change of the market in the past 6 months so you can see where you're going. If you want to be competitive, you're going to price the home where it's going. So if there's an incline, like when we saw when the market was super heated,
Yes.
you ride that wave, you price it a little bit above. If
Okay.
there's a slow decline, then you price it a little bit below. And then also, I will talk to them about the competing homes, because of
Mhm.
course they're not the only home for sale in that neighborhood. So they can see maybe the home that has the similar floor plan, but maybe
Mm.
there's a pool, or
Mm.
maybe they redid the floors. And
Right.
sometimes sellers can be a little sentimental with their home and decide,
Yes.
"Oh, my home is the best, and that's home sold for 500. Mine should too." But
Right.
same. So that's when I kick in and do my job and show what we call the, market analysis, and show the
Mhm.
comparables so they can see, if you were a buyer and you had 500,000, which house would you purchase? Oh,
That's
this.
good. Good information because I a lot of times my clients will give us the market value and
Mm,
I'll ask, "Well, where are you getting that from?" And well, I looked on what is it,
still-
Zillow, and I looked here and there and I saw the house across the street or down the street and it sold for this amount. And, so now I have some questions to ask them. Well, do they have any upgrades? Do you have upgrades? And
Right.
yeah, that's good
Yeah.
to know.
It makes all the difference.
When it's time to list it, sometimes I have issues, especially when a divorce is pending. Maybe one spouse, you've got an order or an agreement to list it, and maybe one is more eager to list it than the other. Maybe one wants to do some sprucing up,
Mm,
paint, carpet, whatever, and the other
yeah.
one's like, no, list it as is. I mean, what
Yeah.
is your take on that? Does it need to be just at its optimum best appearance? I mean,
Mhm.
sometimes they just can't do that. They got to get this divorce finalized, get the cash, split it, and move on. What are your thoughts about?
My thought here, well, here are my thoughts. My ultimate goal would be to get them the top dollar, which would
Okay.
be ideally to prep the house, to make sure
Mhm.
it's staged. If there's some, little touch up paint that needs to be done, cut the lawn, all of that stuff, because it is almost like a beauty show. Buyers look at your home on their first, it starts on the phone, right? So
Mhm.
see those pictures and immediately
Right.
make a decision on if that's going to be a home that they're interested in or
You've
to.
been looking at, right?
So
Mhm.
even if, the best photography is going to, make the home look like one, then you're going to might have issues. But I get it. There are some scenarios where they're like, we're going to take a financial hit with this, but we don't have it in us. We don't have the time.
Mhm.
I can, to a degree, try to run interference, do a little help. I know, staff like maids and all that, like, I can work with you on that. But for the
Okay.
most part, if they're saying, no, we've got to jump out of this, like if we could sell it tomorrow, we
You
would.
could do it. Yes.
We have that conversation, and then I'm going to give them comps on homes that are in that state to make
Okay.
sure that they can hug those numbers because
Hmm.
they're not going to get top dollar. And it's going to look
Mm.
different. 'Cause remember, when you sell, there's selling costs, right? So
Right.
your closing costs, you're going to pay prorated taxes. If there's
Mhm.
any, liens, the lender, all of that, you're going to pay that. There's also the realtor's commission, which is roughly at 6%. So
Mhm.
you back all that out, you see your final number, and you compare that to the number if it's spruced up. It might motivate them to get it, up to snuff. However, I've sold homes that were just, it needed a little bit of love, and
Mhm.
it is marketed as that, and
Okay.
you still you can have your number, acknowledging that, and you just hold tight on that, and then it just depends because if you did that on that market where we were just selling like hotcakes, that home still would have sold.
No matter what.
Right.
Big holes in the wall didn't matter.
Get out. We want the house.
Go get your things later. We'll just move
Yeah.
in. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, good. Great information. Great information. Because I'm always on the other side and I'm listening to the info from my clients.
Hmm.
Is there anything else that you think it's important for a selling client to know who may be headed towards divorce, is already in divorce, or maybe they just got divorced? Anything else that you think is beneficial there?
That would be beneficial. Well, of course, which we've already touched on, please disclose that to your realtor. It is absolutely crucial.
Disclosure.
It's the right thing to do. It's out of respect for the realtor, and it also lets them do their best job for you.
Okay.
um, Coming down that line, it is also helpful to, if you've got a picture in mind of where you are going to go with those proceeds, which will go back to the discussion with your own attorney to make sure what to expect so that y'all will come to some agreement, and to let you know it's not impossible to sell during divorce. If you got
Okay.
a good realtor that's patient and can kind of do the whole let's come together in peace and all that, it can be done. So don't be afraid of it, and just bring that conversation up to your attorney, of course.
Okay. Disclosure and that patient, let's be peaceful realtor, is that you?
That is me. I get that feedback all the time. I have a lot of high drive friends, and they're like, "You're so calming. You're
And
just
yes.
calming to me." I'm like, "Yeah, that's my superpower."
That's your superpower. Well, we're gonna send our clients who are on their way out. We're gonna send them to you when they need to sell. If
Yeah.
somebody wants to get in touch with you, how do they reach your calm,
Yeah.
peaceful sales experience backed by your law degree?
Okay. Well,
Mhm.
you can reach me at, of course, my email is aalJackson at kw.com.
Mhm.
And you can reach me by phone, my direct line at 832-856-5087. And my webpage is the same, aaljackson.kw.com.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. Well, thank you, attorney, realtor Angela Jackson, for coming into our podcast world. And for those of you who are watching, if you have enjoyed this information, if it's been beneficial to you, please hit the like button and don't hesitate to share. And stay tuned for our next episode. It'll be interesting, it'll be related to family law or something touching our wonderful family. So, you all be blessed and be prayerful. Talk to you soon.
Thank you for listening to the Alsandor Law Podcast. If you need expert legal representation for matters about family law, the Houston Family Law Team at the Alsandor Law Firm is here to help. Visit alsandorlaw.com to learn more. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, or review our show and share it with others who might benefit from the conversations. Join us next week as we continue to explore crucial family law topics. Stay resilient and know that we're committed to supporting you every step of your journey.